All right. What is up, everybody on the interwebs? It is the headmaster of the Gaming Academy, Father Brain of the Gaming Academy, GQAzndood. How y'all been? It's been another week, and man, it is hot up in here again. So we're sweating up a storm, and it's just hot, just straight up plain hot. What else is hot? The news that's coming up tonight on our show. And of course, if you are joining us for the first time, this is the Gaming Academy where gamers from all across the board and learn and experience all the things we love and appreciate, which is video games and video game culture. So tonight, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna sharpen our swords and power up your controllers and get your XP ready because class is back. That's right, it's session 44. And tonight in Gaming Academy, we're diving into another round of epic discussions, lightning fast gaming headlines, and of course, our legendary boss, last boss, final boss of conversation. From our quick bites, hot off the press news to spirited debates around the round table, more like conversations, all the way to the final boss segment, where we tackle the biggest gaming topic of the week. This is where the gamers level up their knowledge and have a blast doing it. Whether you're here for nostalgia news or just a good old gaming banter, welcome to the Academy. Class is in session. Oh, excuse me. But first, let me introduce the staff here at the Gaming Academy. He was here last time, and he's going to be here again. The guy that did the tech, the guy that showed us Ken from a different game in another game. But there's another blonde guy, Blazing Ace Nelson. What up?
Hey everybody, welcome back. Oh man, can it stop being hot already? Please. I moved out of California to get away from this.
Summer is almost over, but it's like not gonna go away without a fight, apparently. So we just gotta have to suffer through it for maybe a few more weeks. Then September hits. So yeah, it's rough.
This should be a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just knew Gaming Academy was coming on tonight because, just like us, it's hot out there and it's hot up in here too. But adding to the heat, the man you guys missed, the man, the myth, the legend, he's still alive and with us. The tragic version.
44, baby. We're back.
Go. 6 more to 50? My God, that was a fast year.
I know, right? You were saying we can't wait till it gets a little bit colder. We only have a couple more days for that. Luckily, it's going to be rainy. In probably the afternoon tomorrow, maybe. That'd be nice. We'll see.
I like that's some. That sounds like video game weather. I like that.
It sounds like video game weather.
Yeah.
It's been real tough to sit down and have the motivation in between things to play a game right now, just because it's so hot in this room. I moved that AC back over here so the computer rig could stay cool too. Game remove. It's I'm worried about not just my child and myself, but my rig.
yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure my my PS5 is struggling. This is why I always bring a fan now every time I go in this room to game right now because it's really hot. You know what else is hot, Nick? You know what? You've been gone. You've been busy with life, right? I've been busy saving the universe in Mass Effect 2, so I finished it actually on Sunday.
Oh, you did? How'd that suicide mission go?
Off stream, by the way, off stream. So
okay,
I couldn't wait any longer.
Yeah, that's perfectly
no.
fine. Since we
was
together to talk about gaming in general, this is my chance to ask you, in the moment, how was that suicide mission? You lose anyone?
No, surprisingly not. Apparently, I made the right choices. My gut instinct was on point. But I also just did 100% the game. My loyalty mission to everyone.
Right, and that was the case for me as well. I have to, do that absolutely all the way through completionist in those games. How did you feel playing it though? Because it's been how many years since Mass Effect 2, my guy?
15 years, probably more, right?
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
2010.
You know what?
My birthday in 2010.
When I was playing that suicide mission, it's in 3 parts, right? And the way you got to pick the variety of different characters within each section, I was like, this is gaming right here. I was so we're back, baby. I never arrived, right? So but I was really enjoying it. Cinema. Yeah, it was beautifully done, beautifully executed. The game made your choices feel like they mattered. The game rewarded you for putting the work in, and the game also rewarded you for paying attention, right? So it's all those things added together in that moment, And so, because like if you weren't paying attention, if you weren't really like, you're kind of just going with the flow, you get to that moment, you're like, I fucked up, I messed up, and I want to try this again. So that's kind of why I think that was like peak gaming right there, right? So
Yeah, we'll have to talk a little bit more at a different time just about some of the decisions you made in there because I'd love to know how you went
yeah,
about it. Did you stay Renegade or did you go more?
man, I saw the bar and it was like Paragon was like 10% higher than Renegade. I was 50-50. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then luckily, one of the conversations I was Paragon enough to save the relationship. Luckily, because you weren't able to save it if you didn't have the higher Renegade or higher Paragon response, right?
yeah, it
So,
was a lot more
yeah,
important in the second game about having the Paragon Renegade at the level
yeah,
that
yeah.
opened up more of those conversations. Like you basically played it back to back, going from 1 to 2. How was that jump for you? Do you like get what gamers like myself have been saying for so long, just
I
about
get it.
that jump to 2?
I get it. I can also tell that like it's kind of weird how Dragon Age 1 was good and then 2 was like eh. With this one is like what 1 was eh and 2 was like this is really good.
Yeah.
So I can tell like and you showed us that like timeline bar, right, of how those games were made. I
Mhm.
was like, I feel like yeah, you can tell where the resources went, right? So it's just kind of interesting if and that's a good point of context because if I didn't see that, I'd be like, how come Mass Effect is so much cooler than Dragon Age, right? But then you look at that timeline, you're like, oh yeah, clearly they had more time to do this and that. So I get it. It makes
So,
sense.
with that in mind, last 2 questions. First
Sure.
one being what's a two-parter, sorry. Who's your most favorite and least favorite crew member from the second Mass Effect?
uh, most favorite
This is
and least.
important. This is important to the
Okay.
lore of like the community, by the way. Like everyone has their favorites when it
I
comes
feel
to the
so
like the
judged
crew.
right now. Least favorite. I think it's because it's a tie for least favorite because I thought they were just the most boring characters. Jacob was one of them, unfortunately. And the Assad guy, is that his name? Assad?
Zahid, the
Zahid, yeah,
yeah,
Zahid.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he was just like mercenary man. That's all he was.
He's old
Um,
grizzled mercenary.
yeah. I mean, he was cool. He's just like there's nothing really interesting about him.
Yeah,
Um,
Jacob usually gets kind of thrown under the bus there just because of the writing behind it, not the voice acting or like
yeah, yeah.
the intention, but just like the execution.
I
Like you
called
said,
him
it
for
was
a
like
while. I called him Kanye Space for a while.
you and Space State just
Yeah,
buddying.
Space and Kanye Space. They were teaming up for a good long time there.
Okay, okay. I know
Um,
you're in the midst of playing 3, but did you romance anyone in Mass Effect 2?
yes, so my I did have the shadow layer of the shadow broker like I didn't do it in any particular order
Sure.
because I didn't know the order, right? When I met Liara, sorry, Ace, I know we're boring you. When I met Liara, I was like, "You're not really interested in me anymore." Plus, I was dead for a while,
I
right?
was dead.
Yeah, so I was like, "I think you're over it. I think you're like moved on." So I was like, "All right, I guess you moved on." So I romanced Miranda.
Okay.
So yeah,
Well, there you go, man. Mass Effect 2, we've been talking about it for so long. Now I hope you can understand why so many people, including myself, were upset about games like Veilguard losing the
yeah,
choices and the weight behind them and why BioWare had set us up for this expectation when it came to their other games. Like this kind of helped bake it in for good reason. Not to say there isn't pluses and minuses about every title they release or other devs for that matter, but Mass Effect 2 really sold me on like your choices have weight in this trilogy until
yes,
you get
yes,
through 3 and we'll talk about that then. But
yes.
yeah, we'll talk more about those big ones, man. But it's really cool to hear you getting into it and uh, glad you finally got around to it.
Yeah, I'm working through 3 right now. But let's save that for a different time. Let's just say it's history for now. So let's move on to this week in gaming history, folks. All right, nerds, if it's your first time here, this is the segment of the show where we cover a week to week of games released. So this today we'll be covering what 810 to 816, right? All the way down to the release of the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. So let's get this show started.
Shout out to Jagos as well. That Mark Dara interview, awesome. If you're a fan, definitely check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get, and if you're new to the chat or the channel or whatever on Ace or whatever, jumping on our Discord, man. That place is popping. There's been a lot of links there. There's been a lot of news.
A
So if
lot
you
of
got
Uma Musume. We're getting into the lore
a
now. Like,
yeah, a little bit of everything in there. So yeah, you guys are definitely making it happen in there. So it feels like a busy classroom in Discord, especially in the lounge. So anyway, the 10th of August, the game that we wished have been like released already, ironically enough, is not owned by Squaresoft anymore, but it's owned by Capcom. Breath of Fire came out on August 10th, 1994, making its debut on the Super Nintendo. Now, let me know. Do you have footage up for this guy?
I will in just a moment.
Okay, just go ahead and ding me when you're ready. But yeah, one of my favorite RPGs before Chrono Trigger on a Super Nintendo, visually, aesthetically pleasing. It was cool that you were like, a dragon warrior, or your like lineage was of a dragon. I love the isometric look of this game, right? And just overall, like the story was really cool. Like I enjoyed it. But the big thing that I would say that what this game really did, what it's really different and unique to some of the other games that are on the RPG level, is that this was still in an era where each character was their own character. Like Ryu was like a warrior, and it's like, is it Anna? I think her name was. She was like the healer of the group. Like, because now they're trying to like make every character do everything, and I'm not a huge fan of that, because I need character identity, right? That's just a personal thing. What about you guys?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I didn't really play this back in the day. It was one that I got my hands on once I started working at the retro store.
Nina.
Like, it was kind of like revisiting all this stuff that I'd heard about, and it definitely, like, to me, because I'd seen like sequels come along, I'm like, okay, this one had to have something going for it, right? It was the same with
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy for me. I didn't play those back in the day. I played them after the fact. So yeah, it was cool for me to see.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And it spanned like what? A series, right, Ace?
Yeah, it spanned a whole series, and I mean, yeah, I dabbled a little bit in the first Breath of Fire, and even after picking up other games like Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, and Final Fantasy VI, I went back and tried playing through both 1 and 2, but the ones that really hooked me were actually starting in 3,
Yeah.
PlayStation era, but especially 3.
3. I like 2 a lot. 1 was like my intro to it, of course, and it was also pretty dang hard from what I remember. I remember like leaving the first town and just getting wrecked right away by slimes,
Yeah.
right? So it was when it's like you have to pay attention, you have to manage a little bit better, and you have to grind. This is a very grindy RPG because it is an old school RPG. A good one though. So, right.
But also,
Jagus, sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, just like you were saying earlier, though, the thing about, how, each of the characters had their own like specific roles to play when it came to just gameplay in general. Instead of having, characters that are more, like jacks of all trades, you actually had, Ryu, who was specifically the warrior, Nina was the healer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Like I said, I'm a big fan of like character identity. Like, in like there's been a lot of more modern games where every character can do everything if you put them in the grid, or and that's cool and all. Like, but at the same time, it's like you got to have a reason for picking said character. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking for aesthetic, right? Stuff like that. So it gives them more purpose to pick the character. Like I love picking a character that maybe I like don't find. Like, I mean, this guy's so annoying, but his skill set's so good. Like I love that. Like it's not perfect, and that's what I think. That's what
I mean, heck, that's part of why even when playing through like Final Fantasy X, I don't really go that far like on the sphere grid. It's like, okay, I've got Tidus. He is focused on, he's focused on agility, speed. He's the character that I'm just going to be like taking turn after turn after turn with. Meanwhile, Auron is just home run,
one swing, one dead. Yeah, Yeah, and they do that very well, like in the beginning, but later on, as you progress, like everybody can be anyone, at that point. So I totally get that. But yeah, some other games that came out in August 10th: Bases Loaded 2, second season on the NES in 1988 in Japan. One of my favorite baseball games on the Nintendo. Journey to Silius on the NES as well in 1990 in Japan. One of the hardest games to rent because it was always out and nobody had it in stock. Shadow of the Ninja on a Nintendo in 1990 came out in Japan. Also recently just came out with a remake. Still 2D pixel art, super cool. Check it out. It's just like I said, it's the year of the ninja. With Ragebound and Shinobi coming out. Shadow of the Ninja also had their own remake as well. Also, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy came out on the Super Nintendo in 1995, and I looked up a sealed copy, which is graded for this game. The last one that was sold was $1,800 for a graded copy
Cool.
for Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Okay, Ephemeral Fantasia on the PS2 in 2000 Japan. We talked about that, how this was one of the games we shipped out to Game Grumps during our tenure there at the game store. And Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game on the PS3 in 2010, it was a download only, and it was like locked down by Ubisoft for the longest time. And I haven't played this game yet, but I'm super interested. Arcade Paradise came out on the PS4 and Xbox Series X or Xbox One in 2022 in Japan as well. So yeah, that's a pretty good day. Good day. Video synth. We got a new chatter there. That's pretty cool. What's up? All right. On the August 11th, my dad's birthday, Samurai Showdown on the Neo Geo came out in 1993. Now I had to make sure it was the Neo Geo cover because you want to see that 100 mega shock, right? It was 100 megabytes, which was a lot of megabytes back in the day. So that one was this is a pretty good one. Now this is like the reason why I chose this one to feature on this day was because I remember seeing this in the arcade and seeing like the animation, the graphics, the aesthetic, like the sound, A, B, C, D, you name it. I was like, this is the fighting game. This is so cool. Like it even had the cool like slow down hit, like when you like highly damage somebody. Samurai Showdown was the jam, man. Like you heard this thing in the arcade when you walked in before Killer Instinct came out, right? You know all my friends emulated the referee like swivel, right? He pulled it like that. That was the classic, right? So I don't know, like I love Samurai Shodown. It clearly spawned a lot of sequels, so kind of like KOF, right?
Yeah,
It was definitely one of the ones that I played in the arcade as well. I remember us talking about it before. Like this and Baseball Stars were like the two on the Neo Geo cab at like the local bowling alley. Like we go from Little League, my brother and I, we go to the bowling alley because they had a really good restaurant in there, and we also had like a bowling league we went to. But I remember just like saving my quarters just to play Sam Show and Baseball Stars. I just love that Neo Geo cab. It's like super nostalgic for me. I was shit at it. I was not good at it, but I loved the style. Like you said, the colors, the way it looked, the cell shading. Like it was just cool.
Presentation was really cool. Like this right now, they're going around Japan, like touring and fighting. I think this was like one of the first games that had a referee. And it was like every time you hit the opponent, it would raise the flag, and I was like, "That's super cool!" Like, like that. We didn't have that in Street Fighter.
Pure martial arts like competitions, like Taekwondo. You get a single point. That's what the ippon is. Like it like you said, with the flags and everything. It felt you were in like this official tournament. It wasn't like you're battling some eternal like dragon kind of thing. It's like no, not quite.
No, not until 2 when you fight Zankuro.
Yeah, no, it kicked up a notch after that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jago says people play 2 and 5 on Fightcade religiously. I believe that 2 is the most popular. It's like King of Fighters 98. And 5 is like, is 5 the one with Nobunaga? Like the fake Nobunaga? Fun fact, I tried playing that on, so I have it on PS4, and I played it on level 8 difficulty. 58 tries with Nobunaga, I still couldn't beat him.
Wow.
58 tries. I was like, I'm done. This guy is so cheap. Input reading, like man, this guy can see my thoughts. Like it was crazy.
SNK boss syndrome.
It
I was gonna
was
say
rough.
with that kind of level of difficulty, did Maximilian ever do a boss rage for him? That sounds like a pain in the ass, man.
I don't think he's a big Samurai Showdown fan outside of like OG Samurai Showdown or maybe
Gotcha.
4. But like yeah, I wanted to give it a shot because the bosses typically was Zankuro, Amakusa, and then the Nobunaga guy. Like it's not Nobunaga, but it is him basically.
Mhm.
But he has a stupid move that takes up the whole screen with a giant horse that rides, and then like you either block it or you just take the hit. It's so dumb. Anyway, I'm triggered. So, um, other games that came out on the 11th, Shining Wizard Saturn 1995 in Japan, System Shock 2 in 1999 on PC. Paper Mario came out in 64 in 2000 in Japan. A little game called Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People on the PC
Hell
and the
yeah.
Wii in 2000. Can we pull up some gameplay for that? That'd be
Oh
awesome.
man, I remember that game when it came out. Because I remember going to the Strong Bad the homestarrunner.com back in
Yeah.
the day, like when it first came out. Followed that religiously.
Yeah, I
I'll see if
remember.
I can find
I
something.
remember that Homestar Runner, Strong Bad, was that
Oh man,
Dragonator,
we had so many
Trogdor?
jokes. Yeah, before the advent of a lot of YouTube, we were quoting Strong Bad to each other.
Yeah, yeah. Newgrounds was technically our YouTube before YouTube.
That was our
Uh,
naughty YouTube.
yeah, for sure.
So many dating sims.
Yeah. Now, facts. Speaking of dating sim, also Hatoful Boyfriend came out. Not that in one of these days, so I want to keep that in mind. But Boyfriend Dungeon came out in 2021 on everything apparently. So that's speaking of dating sim. And Cult of the Lamb, which is like dark Animal Crossing, also came out on everything in 2022. Also, so fun fact: Jagos Earthquake is a ninja, but if ninjas were from Texas.
Amazing.
Like that's
Oh, but one thing I didn't see on there, which I do want to kind of make mention of as far as August 11th, it's kind of a pretty big day just pop culture wise in general because August 11th, 30. Well, this is in 90. God, I want to say like 94, 95. But basically, August 11th was also the day when Chrono Trigger hit the States.
Oh, nice.
And also, August 11th in 1990. Yeah, so it was in 95 when Chrono Trigger hit the States on this, on August 11th. And in 1990, that was when the original Nicktoons lineup premiered.
Nicktoons?
Rugrats.
Oh, right. Doug. Was Doug part of the OG Nicktoons?
Mm-hmm.
Real Monsters.
I didn't realize that this was also you brought that up. I had to look it up, and there's a couple of things that popped up in my feed. System Shock 2 was also released on this date 26 years ago in 99.
Yep, that's on there.
Damn. I just completely went over that, and it was just like, oh, I completely forgot about that one. Because there was like a whole thing. There was like, shoot, there was something else I forgot that was on this day. But anyway, pass me. Keep going.
Daikatana? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
No. We've already talked about that.
All right, on the 12th, Wild Guns on the Super Nintendo released in 1994 in Japan. Arguably one of the most rarest games on the Super Nintendo, reaching that last leg of the Super Nintendo's lifespan. A lot of those games are really rare. Also, if you notice, a lot of the rare games that came out on Super Nintendo were from Natsume. So they must have not printed a lot of these games because
yeah, I'm sure
the majority of them were like Eastern games going to the West.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think on my last couple streams, I talked about Cabal. I talked about, I think Jagos. We talked about Alligator Hunt, Blood Brothers. Those were all games like Wild Guns. Has anybody played OG and the new Wild Guns here?
I haven't played the new one.
Hey, that sounds like something we should do, Ace.
Like the new Wild Guns?
Yeah, play
Yeah.
the new one together. I haven't played it.
Yeah, it's
Wouldn't
got
that work so
two
bad?
extra characters, I think. It's got extra moves, so it's just all overall like a better like upgrade. Kind of like Shadow of the Ninja. The newer one is
Mhm.
like a remake of the old one, just like a little bit
Which
better
really just
overall.
makes me think, yeah, I know it's not a Natsume game, but real talk, we need a new Sunset Riders.
Tell that to Konami and get out of the pachinko game.
Brother,
You're not going to convince them. There's too much money in it.
we
Yeah.
got to get Amano and the boys out of the pachinko mines.
When their Contra Pachinko looks like their CG for Contra Pachinko looks way better than Contra Hardcore on the
Thanks.
PS4, that's a problem.
Brother,
Hey,
what?
remember they did that? They did that pachinko machine for Metal Gear Solid, and it looked amazing. I think it
Yeah,
was
I
the
know.
main
Like, what
reason
the
that
heck?
Delta got made was just because people saw the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater pachinko machine and saw what it could do.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Okay.
I've always enjoyed these, like, behind the view, like, I don't even know what to call this type of game, right? It's a rail shooter, technically, but not really.
Yeah, it's like a over the shoulder rail shooter.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
behind
those
the back.
arcade. Yeah, it's all those
Yeah,
arcade rail shooters that we played. It's just it
yeah,
puts the actual person in there, like a third person perspective,
yeah.
like behind them.
Third person
Because
time.
GI Joe was like this. GI
Yeah.
Joe was like this, but GI Joe, your guys were always running forward.
I do like that you can dodge in it too. Like it definitely
Yeah.
felt like you had more of a hand in it instead of just like grenades being lobbed at you like in Area 51.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Stay-
being able to like dodge damage is always good. Like in Time Crisis, is cool.
It feels almost more like a bullet hell at that point.
Yep, yeah, for sure. All right, some other games that came out on the 12. The Adventures of Bio Billy on the Nintendo in 1998 in Japan. Basically, Crocodile Dundee the game is what I call it. And also King of Fighters Maximum Impact on the PS2 2004, and an unreleased game. I don't know why it made it on here, but it was here. Silent Hills on the PS4 in 2014. Is that a real game? 2014?
Which
I
one?
don't. I thought it was just a trailer. Silent Hills.
Well, I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about PT coming up recently, so
Yeah,
that
but
might have
Yeah,
some-
that was
Silent Hill's actually like released.
yeah, that
Silent-
was the canceled one.
oh
It
yeah,
was-
that's what I
gonna
thought. It
be
was canceled.
Published by Konami. Yeah,
Yeah, because
it was
it
being
was
devved by Kojima.
yeah, the trailer was the demo was PT, but Silent Hill was going to be the real game.
Yeah.
So which
So
eventually
it's
turned
definitely
into
worth
Death
mentioning that
Stranding.
because people for a while there were selling consoles that still had PT downloaded on it for like
Yeah.
a stupid amount of money because people wanted to get their hands on it. It was that good.
Yeah, yeah, because you can't download it anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been hacked by now, but it's really good. And there was a fun little article that I saw that apparently the monster in the game that scares you is behind you the whole time you're playing the game.
No, no.
Yeah. No, they said the camera plays tricks on you, but if you zoom out and look at your character model, it's always behind you all the time. It's great. I was like, I didn't need to know that.
No.
So it's interesting. It's worth bringing this up because I just looked up some like early reviews for it, and it was like unanimous praise across the board. Radar wrote, by spreading out into the real world by forcing solutions by the way of hearsay, internet whispers, and desperate rumored logic has become its own urban myth. This thing became mythical. It won awards for like scariest game at Fear Awards and stuff like that. Giant Bomb gave it the best horror game in 2014, despite it just being a demo. Like it was that good, but it was because of the fallout between Kojima and Konami during that year and things being restructured that this was lost. In the the haze of everything, which is just crazy to think that something like this good. You know what it kind of reminds me of? That stuff's been going on at Microsoft right now. They're talking about that multiplayer like MMO title that like blew Phil's mind and everyone loved and it was like the best thing ever, and it's canceled. Like it's just like what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think they just have their priorities, and but
Oh,
we just don't agree with their priorities. Let's just be real. Yeah, one like Jagos was talking about how it was a demo for a teaser. PT literally meant playable teaser. That's what it meant. Also, one of the best gameplay features of PT was that it brought the internet together to figure out how to play the game. I thought that was so clever
Yeah.
and the puzzles were so like fifth level brain inducing. Like you would have never figured it out unless you just like played it over and over and over again. It's wild how like how genius it was. I'm actually surprised why Death Stranding is in that way, but like I get it. It's not the same game, right? So maybe some way down the road we'll figure it out. All right, Ace, King of Fighters, Maximum Impact. You got a big old bold green highlight on this guy.
Yep. So Maximum Impact is an interesting case in terms of KOF games because much like say Street Fighter EX, Maximum Impact was the first time that KOF had actually ventured into the 3D space. But just like with EX, it still played it still played left to right, x-axis, 2D like a classic fighting game, like a classic KOF game. But the story behind it, which is the story behind each of the different arcs, is one of the things that KOF is best known for. And the Maximum Impact games is kind of like a side story to the main KOF games, which is like an alternate timeline or side story to Art of Fighting and KOF, the separate games where all the characters and teams come from. But the story in Maximum Impact, it's a side story, but it takes place after the events of KOF 2000. So it's kind of like between KOF 2000 and Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves, because Southtown has been demolished at this point. And part of the backdrop of it is kind of a, Warriors style of backdrop where there are rival gangs fighting for control of the streets of Southtown.
Look at this guy.
And that boy right there, Alba, he is actually the lead of, like, him and his twin brother are actually the leaders of one of the main gangs in Southtown. And, the story of Maximum Impact and Maximum Impact 2 revolves around them and the issues they have with a rival gang known as Mephistopheles and, their leader. But, you still wind up running across, all these legendary characters like Terry, of course. I mean, you get to see Kill, Yuri, Leona, Ralph Clark, the whole 9 yards. It's practically a full-on KOF roster, but in this new game where there's more of a focus on one-on-one as opposed to the classic team format, because it's more of the sort of traditional one-on-one King of Fighters tournaments that are featured in Fatal Fury.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's of the time. It looks like Alba here shops at Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Hot Topic and Zoomies.
Pretty much.
Not there's anything wrong with that. I've shopped there.
wearing his Oakleys.
Yeah, it's very like just kind of looking at it, it definitely feels a little clunky. I don't know how it played. But,
well, this was their first stab at 3D, right?
Right.
When it came to the KOF series. And remember, folks, the first Fatal Fury game was called Fatal Fury: The King of Fighters. Hence why we're back to the King of Fighters Maximum Impact. So
exactly.
And
also one other thing was that the character designer for the Maximum Impact games, he originally started off as an SNK fan artist. So, if you've seen or heard of the artist Falcon,
yep.
Like before the Maximum Impact games, he had been, just posting his stuff up on the internet. Some really, like, I guess, high design, very.
Oh my gosh, Steve.
Do you like red or green?
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean,
boy.
Of course, the first Maximum Impact also had, it was also the first game after Mark of the Wolves where Rock was featured.
Max played this game. I know it. 100%. I played this game.
One thing that also happened on this day in gaming history, which I completely forgot about, one of the games that I've been playing lately, we'll talk about it now playing, but Night Dive Studios was dissolved on this day in gaming history in 2013. I don't know if you knew that. It was dissolved. A year later, it was reincorporated and then bought by Atari down the road. But yeah, no, they were dissolved. Crazy.
Atari. I think they're making. Why is that? Why do I feel like they're making moves right now on something, and I just can't think of it.
I mean, with the way that Night Dive has been pumping out these like HD updates to old titles and package deals that are really, really good, who
Yeah.
knows?
Oh, right now you can buy the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection from Atari, so that's a good sign. Finally, getting our Legacy MK games into one packaging without having to emulate them. So pretty
So
cool.
maybe
Pretty
the
cool.
new Atari system.
Yeah,
Now that
probably
Microsoft's leaving the Atari or leaving the console world behind, maybe we'll get an Atari console again.
Atari 720. Combine it.
We had the 78, it went 52, 78. So what's next?
What's next is the Super Nintendo. That's what came out in 1991.
Hey,
um, yeah, I made sure I highlighted this bold. Pretty big day for me. Also, some games that came out with the launch. Mario World, of course, not Street Fighter 2. That came out like 3 years after or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Pilot Wings and F-Zero were the launch titles. I think Final Fight and UN Squadron came out not that long after, but like these were the three that were like by Nintendo. So, yeah, I would like to hear everyone's Super Nintendo story because I got mine. Uh, was it Christmas? No, I think it was my birthday, 1992. And I got the one with like the 2 controllers, Mario World, and stuff like that.
I just pulled up a listing real quick, and here are the 5 games that launched with the Super NES. It was Super Mario World, F-Zero, Pilot Wings, SimCity, and Gradius 3.
Great it. What? That's a random one. It's not even a Nintendo title. It's a Konami title.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Must have been really popular in Japan. And also, yeah, I never realized 3 was like the first Super Nintendo one to come out because we didn't really get one. We got one. I don't think we got 2 on the Nintendo. Did we? Or did we?
Actually, I think Gradius 2 was Game Boy.
Game Boy? Okay. Yeah. My story, it was my birthday. It was a surprise. My dad was like, "Oh, they're sold out." It's like, what would you get? And what would maybe next year? And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever. All good. I'll just play my Nintendo." And then like before I went to bed, he was like, "By the way, here's your Super Nintendo." Like straight up like traumatized, lied to me, but whatever.
I was about to say, I know you did not get to sleep at all that night.
Yeah, and I was definitely excited to play. It popped in Mario World, loved the soundtrack. Controller felt good, like the system felt good, like everything about it felt solid. Like it didn't have the folding opening tray. It just insert the cart and it was good. Like I thought everything about it was just so much better than the Nintendo. It was like all A+. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I think like overall design wise, less moving parts, right? Sturdier concept. Apparently fireproof, depending on which model you got, also because it had the spray on it. And a really awesome controller for the time, right? Now it hurts my hand, but at the time it was an awesome controller. So, and one of the best graphics for that generation for what we had at home. So, all right, you guys go next. I'll be talking about it all night.
Well, for me, at the very least, at the start, it was always like, either my cousins or my older siblings where I get the chance to, go and visit them, and they'd have a Super NES, and we'd be playing, all the classics, Super Mario World. Let's see, my late uncle, when he got his Super NES, it was a Christmas package that it was, one of the bundles that he got for Christmas with Donkey Kong Country. So, and of course, this was also around the time, around 93, 94, I was spending a lot more time over with my uncle and my cousins, and we had the Super Nintendo. We had the big screen TV where, when we weren't playing the game, we were watching Nickelodeon, so we were there for the premiere of Rugrats, Doug, and Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
It all comes together.
Go
But
ahead, sorry.
But when I finally got my own Super NES, this was, I had originally bought it to share it with my older brother, but this was around the point where my brother had, hooked up with, he got together with one of his friends on the football team, and that was when he came back with that toolbox that I mentioned, where we open it up and we've got Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Super Mario RPG. Let's see, Illusion of Gaia, Pocky and Rocky 2, and Vortex were a couple of the others that we had. So
I think Pocket Rocky 2 is like a $200 game now. As we just
Right.
wanted to mention
But-
that.
that was the little treasure box that his friend had eventually just went ahead and gave it to me, because you've been playing these games more often. You borrow Chrono Trigger so much. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of do borrow Chrono Trigger a lot. And he's like, you know what? I'm about to hit, senior year. I'm not going to have much time to play these, so you keep it.
Dude, I love SimCity. Just want to mention that. I have so many positive memories of the Super Nintendo. I've probably exhausted that library because of, like I said, the very convenient video store that was next to my house, which was renting out $2 games per day. So you just, you rent a game on Friday, return it Saturday, because if you don't like it, because sometimes it is booty, sometimes it's trash, you go rent a different game. So I was blessed to think about going back, just thinking about the time that I had that opportunity. That I was very blessed to have that opportunity to be able to play those games, because now, rental stores don't really exist anymore, right? So I just realized how much money I saved being able to just play video games that I didn't have to keep, that and which some of them were pretty bad. So, well, but I know you're not a Super Nintendo guy because you're a Genesis. So just wait one more day. I got you covered.
No. It's not that. it's my. We never had we couldn't afford to get a SNES. It was just more so the Genesis I had, we were able to get at a garage sale, right?
Yeah.
I've mentioned that before. I loved my SNES when I got it, when I finally, were able to afford it when I was older, working at a retro store, and could get it and invest in some of the carts. But I always had friends that had it. I would say like the most defining memories that I have with the SNES wasn't from launch; it was over its lifespan. I remember when my family and I first moved from Chicago out to Whidbey Island. Like, we didn't know many people there at all, like just the couple family members we moved with, but we made friends like Sandlot style with some people playing
Nice.
baseball like in summer, and one of them had a Super Nintendo, and we'd go over to his house and played the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game.
The movie or
the game,
the original one?
the movie, if I remember
Okay.
right, the movie game. If I remember right, I'll have to double check. But I just remember falling in love with that game because I was definitely in like a Power Rangers like phase in my life at that point. Like, it was huge.
100%.
So that, and then when we moved to our eventual house, we didn't really like get to know our neighbors there in Whidbey. It's kind of spread out, like acreage away from them. Not to say that we lived in a lot of acreage, but it just felt like houses were so far away as a kid.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, though, when we still talked to them, it was pretty early on. I remember during summer one time, they just had a bunch of family over having a huge party. And our parents were like, yeah, go hang out with the neighbors. That's fine. Just come back whenever. The good old days, right? They had a SNES and Blackthorn. And I just remember like instantly falling in love with that game because they just let us boot it up and play it. And it just sticks in my head as this moment of just, I really remember those two games from SNES specifically.
Yeah.
But it was just like such good nostalgic memories for me, despite the fact I didn't have it day one. I have happy memories associated with that time, and it's probably one of my favorite console generations. Because when I look for nostalgia, I look for that older, like 16-bit kind of style, right? And the games that have like bit style, like nowadays, like those throwback stuff, like I get instantly into it because it reminds me of those times.
Yeah.
So I may not have been there in the thick of it to start, but I definitely like still stayed connected, in a way.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you had a chance to, because I know I was kind of the opposite. Like, I didn't have a Genesis because of one console house, right? But I did know friends that have a Genesis, and I was trying to always get excuses to like go over their house and play it, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the games that really was like, wow, like I wish I had a Genesis. Was the Terminator 2 arcade game.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that so bad. So
Yeah, we didn't have a ton of games, but we had T2 because we loved that movie. My dad,
Mhm.
we watched it all the time, so it was easy to get that game. And like obviously Sonic 2, my brother and I played a lot because we could actually play 2-player on that.
Yeah.
It's like that had a regular rotation in our house.
Yeah, and I know like for sure like sports games were just performing way better on the Sega Genesis also like from the
They
60.
and we've talked about that. They spent so
Yeah.
much money marketing to get like the names and the famous people on the front, like getting Joe
Yep.
Montana and John Madden early on, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they knew what they were doing. Even in boxing.
Oh
What was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Buster,
Reddick
uh,
Bowe, Buster Douglas,
Buster Douglas. Yeah,
Holyfield. I think Holyfield
Holyfield,
also.
Foreman.
Foreman, yeah, Foreman was a good one. Foreman played like Punch Out, which is really cool. So interesting.
But of course, the Super NES is always, well, not always, but the Super NES is also, another console, that, like you said, was very much a neighborhood sort of thing. When you had games like Techno Super Bowl,
Yep.
stuff like Techno Super Bowl, Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2, man. That was having an arcade at your house. Like the Super Nintendo sans like Neo Geo, that was the closest thing we can get to an arcade experience. So that's why I had so many games that were ports of arcades, right? And I like NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, right? Smash TV, all those were arcade ports that I could only afford, on a Super Nintendo. So,
And
you know,
heck, there were even there were even Super NES ports of Samurai Showdown.
exactly. I think it was published by Takara at the time
Mhm.
because SNK wasn't able to do it. But yeah, and like Turtles in Time, like having that at home instead of having it at the arcade, like was like a jam. This was a game I wanted for the Super Nintendo, but wasn't possible. Also, the X-Men one wasn't possible. So
yeah. The X-Men one would have been really cool.
yeah,
Finding a working like cab of that is just so awesome to see.
yeah, especially the 6-player one, which was like really hard to find because I had to combine 2 machines for that thing. So pretty
So,
wild.
I mean, surprising no one. Do you think you can name the top 5 best-selling SNES games?
Top 5?
Top 5. Can you name?
I
I'm
mean,
sure you can name most of them. You don't have to like do all 5 right now, but chat if you're here too without looking it up. What do you
yeah.
think is in that top 5?
I have a feeling Mario World is going to be in there. Like, do they include that with the bundles of the consoles?
Some of them, and I imagine because a lot of the ones in the top, actually all the ones in the top 5,
Yeah,
were bundled with SNES during the lifetime. So that
correct.
does affect it,
Correct.
but there's none there that aren't
I'm gonna.
not
The first
pack-in.
2 that come to mind is Street Fighter 2 and then Mario World. But the other 3, I'm like, thinking of that one.
Ace, you got any guesses?
I would say Street Fighter 2, Mario World, Killer Instinct.
That's a good one. Yeah, facts. Final Fantasy 3, maybe.
All right. Well,
Donkey Kong. I
number
think
1.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, you got some good. You guys all guessed in the right veins. You got it in chat. Jagos, you throwing a couple in there. You're right about some of them. Number 1, Super Mario World. Surprising no one.
Yeah.
Over 20 million in sales. The next one is half at 10 million in sales. Super Mario All Stars.
Damn.
Really? And
Yeah.
that came out way after too. That's crazy.
Right, but had a bunch of games in it, and again, all 5 of the top
Value.
5 were pack-ins at some point, so that may have
Yeah.
affected it. Drop prices, whatever. But I mean, All Stars having all those games in one, I could see that. Number 3, Donkey Kong Country with 9 million. Mario Kart at number 4.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that.
8.7. Yep, and then you guys guessed it. Number 5, Street Fighter 2
Street
at
Fighter 2,
6.3.
100%. Yeah, because you and Squadron ain't making it on that chart, even though the game's awesome.
Killer Instinct clocked in at number 13, by the way, at 3.2 million. So, I mean, not bad at all. Final Fantasy VI was just above it, spot 12, 3.4.
So we were hitting top 20s at least.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not any surprises from there. You got the other Donkey Kong. Yeah, Donkey Kong 3 being the next Donkey Kong best selling, a little surprising. Number 9, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Maybe a little surprising seeing it that high. Dragon Quest 6 at number 14, Dragon Quest 5 at 16, Final Fantasy 5, Chrono Trigger. All the stuff you usually imagine rounding it out.
Jagos, the reason why MK didn't sell that high is because they were adult games or mature, so that really like stunts sales. This is why they want to keep it teen or general, because like if you notice all the games, you notice the top 5 were like mostly all general games or all audience. I think at the time what they called it, all audiences. You know,
Yeah,
because they
the
changed the
big
ESRB.
Yeah, that was kind of the lead up to it. The big thing about Nintendo was they wanted to stay family friendly. That was their squeaky clean image going into this generation and even slightly beyond. The
Yeah,
popularity of Mortal Kombat and the demand for it eventually it got ported over, but it was heavily edited in the sense,
yeah,
like James said,
sweat.
no blood. It was just like grayed out so it looked like sweat,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
sweat. Yeah,
Mortal Kombat 2
or
was a different story.
dust. Everybody was Captain Ashley Larry at the time. At the time. All right, some other games that came out in 1991. Not really. In October. Wow, what day am I on?
Wow.
August 13th.
The heat's getting to you, my man.
Heat stroke. Legacy Kane, Soul Reaver on the PlayStation in 1999. I was looking at like 5 different games at the same time.
That's fair.
Before Black Myth Wukong, Sayuki Journey West on the PlayStation in 2001. Let's see here. Ultimate Ghost and Goblins on the PSP in 2006. That was the remake of Ghost and Goblins in Japan. Bionic Commando Rearmed on the PC, PS3, 360 in 2008. So this was like the era of like Capcom remakes and remasters of their classic games. So that was really interesting. Darksiders 2 on the PC in 2012. Disney DuckTales Remastered, another Capcom remaster on the PC, PS3, Wii U in 2013. Shout out to Payday 2 on the PC and PS3 and 360 in 2013 as well. And also, if you combine Dark Souls and Dead Cells, you get a game called Death's Gambit. Came out on PC in 2018. I actually picked this game up because I thought the idea of 2D Dark Souls was interesting. So check that out, Chad, if you get a chance. It's a very, very unique game. All right. We talked about the Super Nintendo, but Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Right? Maybe it was on purpose that the Super Nintendo was released the day before the Genesis, but 2 years later. But the Genesis came out on 8/14/1989. I was a mere 8 years old, and I was thirsting for that 16-bit power. You know, because I was evolved from the 8-bit. I wanted 16-bit. So, and yeah, if you have that up, Ace, like games that came out with the Genesis, because right now I have Space Harrier 2 and Alex Kidd, The Enchanted Castle, and I'm sure Sonic should be on here, but for some reason it's not.
Genesis launch lineup. Here we go.
Genesis does.
So we've got Altered Beast, Space Harrier 2, Last Battle, aka
Yeah.
I believe Last Battle was the U.S. port of Fist of the North Star.
Yep, 100%.
Let's see, Super Thunderblade, Thunder Force 2, and Tommy Lasorda Baseball.
We talking about sports names? There's one right there. Tommy Lasorda. Man, do anybody past millennials know who Tommy Lasorda is in the sports world?
No.
Right.
There you go. All right.
Hold up. Looks like there's a couple more here that weren't on that previous list.
Splatterhouse.
Including Alex Kidd in The Enchanted Castle.
Yep, that was on there.
The Sega Genesis port of Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh, cool.
Golden Axe.
Yep.
And yeah, that was.
Bro, they had a better lineup than the Super Nintendo. Like, literally had a better lineup. And third-party games, too, I think.
It was a pretty stacked launch lineup for the Genesis. Not gonna lie.
They were coming for that Nintendo booty. That's what they were going for. But yeah, I mean, like I told you the story. I didn't own a Genesis because one console house. I waited till 1992 to get my Super Nintendo because I knew it was coming out. All my buddies got the Genesis before I did, but I played the waiting game, so I got the Super Nintendo instead. What are your guys'? I didn't think I got the Genesis till I was like when Funko Land came out. I actually owned a Genesis, right? But I don't know. What are your guys' stories?
Well, earlier, remember how I mentioned that it was all it was usually my older siblings that had already moved out, or my cousins, and, uncles, extended family that had the Super NES. It was my family that wanted to get the Genesis. So while everyone else had Super Mario World, Mario Kart, all the stuff that came out there. When my family got the Genesis, it was at that point that Sonic the Hedgehog was already out. So we had Sonic. Let's see, it was Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog, Revenge of Shinobi, Golden Axe, E-SWAT, Two Crude Dudes, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and Captain America and the Avengers.
Classic. The only thing missing was the combat tribes. You guys remember that? So if you don't remember combat tribes, it's like 2 crude dudes plus 1 more. Because there's 3 of them. But yeah, Nick?
Well, I mentioned we got mine at a garage sale, so I was definitely like super excited to get it because we didn't have anything else besides my dad's old
controllers?
NES. Yeah, 2 controllers, 3 buttons, felt pretty good. I mean, the 3 buttons did the ABC. For me, it was like playing a lot of Sonic games. It was that kind of cool factor. There was a few games that I played because we owned it that kind of stood out to me. Obviously, I mentioned Sonic 2, but there was also Skitchin. I don't know if you've heard of Skitchin. I don't know if anyone in chat knows what Skitchin is. But Skitchin was my jam. That was back when you used to blade, and you would grab onto a back of a car and go for a ride. That was called Skitchin. There was an entire game around it. It was like Road Rash, but it was on blades, and you'd like try to punch people off bumpers. You'd go off jumps. You'd have to get further into the thing. Like, I loved Skitchin. I'll see if I can pull up some gameplay of that. But I just remember like going to a friend's house in the summer and playing that game. Yeah, Altered Beast especially too, like getting like ripped and then turned into like a feral wolf creature. It's pretty cool. Plus getting the like voiceover right when you boot up the cart was really cool too. It just kind of blew my mind at the time. But there's a lot of like classic Sega titles that I got into. It's one of the reasons I love playing the Yakuza games, to play some of the old arcade games like Hang On, Space Harrier, some of the like the pop games as well. But yeah, it was for me. It was a lot of just Sonic and Skitchin. I remember getting Road Rash as mentioned.
Seeing the callback to Space Harrier in that one stage in Bayonetta was just mind blowing.
You know, I just realized Space Harrier and Afterburner is the same game.
A lot of other people realized it too.
Like, wait a minute, this was exactly the same.
But for me, like what really stood out is it felt like something different. Like all we saw and all we heard about was Nintendo a lot of times on the TV and stuff, at least at first. That's like all I knew in my childhood. So when Sega came out, it just felt like there was different things to play, something out there that like I got NBA Jam for this as well. Like it gave me other things to play that my friends didn't, and it felt like I could enjoy it for that. I got my own thing at home. But as mentioned in chat, Streets of Rage 1 and 2, still some of my favorite soundtracks in video games of all time. Some of the best from that era, if not the best on that console. And I still stand by that with Streets of Rage 2. Not enough people in my friends group back in the day played that, and they need to. It's still great. I love playing that game. And that was definitely a vibe that sticks with me all the way to this day.
Streets of Rage 2? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the, you can always tell what which the first party Genesis games were by that like grid. That was super cool.
Yeah, the Mega Drive kind of style.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I mean, real talk.
Oh, Golden Axe as well. I forgot about Golden Axe. Sorry. Go ahead, Ace.
Yeah, if there is one name that I would say has like defined so many childhoods throughout the 80s and 90s without people actually knowing it before, up until we got older, or, if we actually paid attention to the credits when we beat these games. Like, Yuzo Koshiro was responsible for a hell of a lot of nostalgia just from his work on the music in games like Streets of Rage 1 and 2, Shinobi. I mean, hell, I could have swore he actually did a few, like music for a few Super NES games as well.
I also didn't realize until we opened up Reset Arcade Edition that the Moonwalker arcade game was still around. Because I remember playing Moonwalker on the Genesis, and I remember back in the day when Screw Attack was around, AVGN did the Moonwalker playthrough that he did, which was still a hilarious video. But I didn't realize the arcade game was like still around, and getting to play that, I feel like we missed out. Like I would have loved to play that back in the day. The arcade version is so cool.
Yeah, it's like a totally different game too. It's
completely different.
Yeah, it's not like an isometric game. The game that I really really attached me to the Sega Genesis was a game called Street Smart because it was a Sega exclusive. It wasn't like it wasn't on the Super Nintendo,
Mhm.
and it was like technically an arena fighter if you think about it. Well, all right, calm down there, Kenshiro. Jeez. Is this guy edited for the West? Like, did they purposely change his like pixels
Mhm.
to match the box art?
They might have.
Yeah, because
To
he
dive
doesn't
into
have
that one.
he's got red hair in this one. So.
Oh, let me pull up Skitchin real quick.
Arzak. Jerry? Warning. You gotta love these
Yeah,
'cause kids are
big old
stupid.
warning right at the beginning. It's like, oh, it's pretty dangerous, man. Look at
double
that
white
splash
ball,
Look
screen,
at that
dude.
art, bro. Like, oh, Electronic Arts. They need to bring it back. Live service. Skitchin live
Yeah,
service game.
someone in chat, let me know. Like, how can I sketch today? Like, is there like who owns the rights to this?
Well,
Can we
if
get Night Dive Studios like do a remake of
yeah,
this?
if the
HD
Skate
update.
remake does a good job, we'll get a Skitchin.
Look at this dude. Look at that haircut.
Jesus Christ.
Flat top. I think I saw this guy in
One,
RoboCop.
the only Fester from Vancouver. Like this thing, there's such a vibe. Look at this dude.
Slingshotting.
Oh my
Bruh.
god.
This is 80s, late 80s.
His edges are so crisp.
Look at
Man,
that.
well, look at that animation though.
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
smooth. That's what stuck
Really
out.
good.
Like
Yeah.
even back in the day, man.
But watch out for Nova and Jackal.
Jackal. Yeah. I just that animation when he kind of sticks out his hand and just like waits for the car to come by. That's just like buried deep somewhere in my brain. I don't know what it is.
I feel like if you just hang on the whole time, do you win? Oh, you have to punch him off.
Oh, they're
my
gonna
car.
come for you, man.
It's my
Punch
car.
and
Get out of
fester.
here. There's no. I'm like thinking about it too hard. Like, there's no lines on the street.
You can pick up pipes, go off jumps.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's definitely
man.
like road rash on blades. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it is. It's just road rash on blades, but
Love
it's a vibe, like I said, and the fact that they did like this almost TC skate and surf like boot up to it kind of thing. I don't know. It's something that sticks out in my brain. Anyway,
All right. Anyway, other two games that came out on this list here in 14, Monster Rancher 4 on the PS2 in 2003 in Japan, and I don't know, some game called Hyrule Warriors on the Wii. Ace got his highlights on these two. So what you got for us, Ace?
So, Monster Rancher 4, like, I honestly am kind of hard pressed to think of anything to say about Monster Rancher 4 that I haven't said already in discussions of the previous games. You know, this was a time where, this was a time where when sequels were made for a console, more often than not, they didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They just took what they had in the previous title, added more to it, and said, "Hey, Monster Rancher." So you had more monsters that were available, and of course, now you can go back to Koei Techno games that had released prior to, so Monster Rancher 3 and everything in between that, for more possibilities for monsters that you could generate from the different discs once you swap them to the PS2.
Does Monster Rancher 2 also do DVDs now?
No, Monster Rancher 2 was still on the PS1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Monster Rancher 4. Well, 4.
Yeah, it was 3 and 4 that were on the PS2.
Gotcha.
But Hyrule Warriors. Now, this one, I have said this before, and I will continue to say this. Hyrule Warriors is my favorite Zelda game.
no shit. Surprising, absolutely no
no.
one in chat or the Discord channel or anyone who's ever tuned into our show before. Make a Muso of any game series, and it'll probably be Ace's favorite in that series.
Surprising, no one that has known me for even 5 seconds.
Is Link
All right,
just
I'm
like
now creating a
sub
list
in
in
this
our
game?
Discord of series that need a Muso fighter. All right,
X-Men,
cool.
Star Wars.
I mean, Battlefield kind of fills
Lord of the
that void
Rings.
a little bit. I don't know if making a Muso out of that. I'm thinking like Gears of War Muso fighter. Gritty, dark, horde mode.
Mm. No,
Anyway, you were talking about Muso Zelda. Go on.
Yeah. Like one of the really great things about Hyrule Warriors though is, for someone like me who, hasn't gone so deep into, playing the Zelda games, like I've played them, but never really could get too deep into them like I do, say, Final Fantasy, for example. But the fact that Hyrule Warriors actually takes the different timelines established throughout the franchise and kind of blends them all together in this one game, I find actually really freaking cool, because it's like, oh, this is some of the stuff that we had to deal with in, say, Twilight Princess and Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask. It's like, it's kind of the Cliff Notes version of each timeline for those games, and it actually got me interested in going back and playing some of the Zeldas. Like I had actually sat down on my own off time and just started messing around and playing Wind Waker after playing Hyrule Warriors. So it's kind of a nice sort of get your foot in the door for Zelda.
I love just thinking about the fact that working at a video game store, some conversations tend to come up pretty regularly. One of them being, oh, what is your favorite Zelda? And there's always going to be something that splits a room. There's going to be one little standout. There's going to be the typical titles mentioned. You get a bunch of people in the room, and Ace going to sit here and be like, Hyrule Warriors, right on the table, just like out. It's just, that is just so funny to me. Just because we'll get the usual conversations, just like, oh, I love this one. Or like for me, it was Ocarina of Time. That is my favorite Zelda, but that was the one I played first. There's not things I dislike about the other ones, but you can definitely tell when people tended to get into the games by their favorite Zelda, or when their like peak gaming age kind of was for them, when they were really, free to get into gaming. Then Ace comes in with Hyrule Warriors. Is just chef's kiss. Ace, thank you.
Right. Hyrule Warriors, and the entirety of the room just looks right at me like I done grew a second head. Like, what, are you stupid? But again, like Hyrule Warriors is my favorite because it's the one that got me interested in going back and playing the others. So I sit down, play Wind Waker, and it's like, okay, now I see what's going on here with Link and Delta, and how certain characters are reimagined from, say, the other timelines. Like, if I sat down and started playing through, Ocarina of Time, and then went on to Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, I'd be, getting reintroduced to these characters on their home turf.
Yeah, as someone who played an absurd amount of Dynasty Warriors Gundam, more than I should have, and I got really good at it, like, I can understand the appeal behind this. I definitely fell out with Muso Fighters for a while there because there wasn't anything new to offer me. And you've talked about that on previous ones as we've gone through like Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors and every other kind of Warriors. I do like freely admit hearing that they kind of deal with the different timelines and stuff is really a cool idea. That would actually make me interested, having played a lot of the Zelda games. As someone who played those and maybe not this, that could be easily their entry point if that's a sales like point that people bring up, because it's not in the box clearly. At least I don't remember it being like a main selling point for people when it came out. But this was, of course, the Wii U version, and back then this was kind of like, it felt like a cash grab. Honestly.
And honestly, like Hyrule Warriors was one of the few games that I did own on the Wii U. I didn't have a very extensive Wii U library. I mean, the main games that I had were, let's see, it was Hyrule Warriors, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Xenoblade Chronicles Cross, and oh my god, and a couple of holdovers from the Wii, like Samurai Warriors 3 and Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
Cool.
Yeah, this game isn't meant for Zelda
But
players. This game is meant for those that are Dynasty Warriors players that Nintendo wants them to play Zelda games.
exactly, and it did exactly what it set out to do. And Hyrule Warriors is also a great example of how, when working with third-party franchises, Koei Tecmo really does their homework. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
yes, you see it in
Nintendo. Go ahead.
you see it in Dynasty Warriors Gundam, with the different mobile suits, deep cuts to the characters. But then you look at something like Hyrule Warriors, and it's like they even incorporate the different mechanics as far as like the different tools, like the bomb and the hook shot and and the bow, and how each of them like work against certain enemies and certain bosses that you have to take on. I mean, even just this little tutorial segment where where they're telling you how to, throw the bombs to, blow up the boulders to clear a path. It's intuitive in the context of playing a Muso, and then you realize, wait a minute, this is, this is Zelda 101. And it slowly starts building your interest in going back and playing the core games.
Jagos and Andre in the chat, just the conversations around themselves. Like,
I played those Jagos. They're called Fate Extella.
That does make me think, though, if they ever did a Muso for like the Naruto series, but it's the same devs that do the fighting games right now, that the animation on like all the supers are just so goddamn cool and massive. Like, imagining that on a Muso scale would be awesome. Like the fourth Shinobi War, like done like that would be so cool. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah,
All right.
let's move on.
All right, moving on. What's next here? Okay, all right. So the 15th featured today is the Agents of Mayhem game. Came out on PC, PS4, Xbox One in 2017. Oh, this is why we bring it up. People forget, and I don't want you to forget. So this was arguably what Saints Row 4, or was it what they were looking for? Saints Row 5? I can't remember the timeline.
We remember it, unfortunately, so you don't have to.
This is a pure example of mismarketing, and this is why you shouldn't be like mysterious with your games. You should tell the public what you're making. If it's a Saints Row sequel, if it's a hero shooter, right? Because there was a lot of speculation on what this game was going to be, and it ended up being both. Being a Saints Row like game that was technically kind of a hero shooter in its way, because you had different characters you can pick while playing a Saints Row like game, right? So I feel like Agents of Mayhem, because I actually enjoyed this game and I played this game. One of the biggest things that this game had an issue with was their marketing. It seems to be a common thing right now with Deep Silver for some reason. But they boasted like what do you call this? Like procedurally generated dungeons, but they weren't really that procedurally generated in my opinion. Oh, you still have that one up, but
yeah, hold up, sorry.
no, you're good. But the thing with Saints Row, or not Saints Row, Agents of Mayhem, was that like I actually enjoyed the variety of characters in the game, but at the same time, it's not what people wanted. This is like a DMC all over again, right? People wanted the next Saints Row, they got Agents of Mayhem instead, right? Because it's a game that nobody asked for, really. But they did kind of, to me, since I enjoyed it, it wasn't bad. Think of this game like Crackdown, but they did add they did add Johnny Gat as a secret character, which has helped make the game, save the game for me a little bit. But still, it's just Crackdown with different characters.
So, and the reason, as Jagos called out in chat, the pain in my eyes, is because this game had a lot of things that I really loved, because I did really enjoy the Crackdown games.
Yeah.
Especially the open world feel of it. It felt really cool to run around with superpowers. I also loved loved Saints Row 3. Like that was my favorite game in the series. 4 was fun, but it was just 3 with some superpowers. It just didn't change a lot for me. So this is one where, like James said, a lot of potential. And like Andre said in chat just now, lots of potential. But the mismarketing, the way that they communicated about this, their intentions of bringing this game out, it was just such a awkward thing around release. It just kind of killed anything that it had going for it. It was just kind of a strange game because everyone just had different expectations. It was a really good example of like expectation reality when the game releases.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like, and also they made it like, look at the aesthetic. It's purple, right? It's very Saints Row-ish. It's made by the devs of Saints Row. It's very confusing for a lot of people that don't follow gaming news, right? They just want to know when's the next Saints Row game coming out. So they see like these guys, like they see that like that marquee or that graphic there that I put up. They're like, oh, if you remove Agents of Mayhem, I'd be like, oh, this is a weird Saints Row game, right? Because like that's exactly what I'm talking about, and they didn't communicate it well enough. Kind of like with the Avengers game. What kind of game?
Yeah, I think it was like you said. It's the aesthetic, especially they leaned so heavily into purple for the last 2 releases because it did come out after Saints 4, and it doesn't help that like some of the devs actually spoke about Saints Row's players as being Agents of Mayhem in the past, so it kept tying to Saints Row, so people just had this full expectation of it's Saints Row, and it comes out and it's not. That's why it felt like the whole like Johnny Gat thing was like it had to be put in there because it was a fan favorite. They're trying to get people interested.
Oh, there was one of the guys from Saints Row 2 is in this game as a playable character. Like it's weird because it's like they're not in the Saints Row universe technically, but they like know of the Saints. It's really weird. Like this game, it was just like it's a standalone title, but like clearly it has so much Saints Row blood in it. But they just like no, they don't know anything about Saints Row. But why is Johnny Gat in this game? It's really weird.
And that's not to say like they for sure. And that's not to say that maybe this couldn't have worked. Like we're not saying that at all. I think it's the fact that people love the Saints Row series. So when this game came out, it just didn't stick up to the same standard that those were. So it felt like kind of a shallow Saints Row game, if that makes sense.
It's all about expectation, 100% expectation. Like you expect the Saints Row 5 and then you get this, you're like, what the heck happened? And it looks so much like Saints Row. So like I said, your expectations like, is this Saints Row 5? Because this doesn't feel like it. So almost immediately negative connotation to it, right?
Right. It's the spirits within.
It always comes back to the spirits within. And what was the other game that we talk about? We always talk about on stream. We can't stop bringing it up. It's been there before. Can't remember. You'll figure it out. Other games that came out on the 15th. Our marquee song for the day, POW Prisoners of War. Awesome arcade game, beat 'em up from SNK, came out in the arcade in 1988. I had a POW Prisoners of War arcade machine at the laundromat my mom went to every Saturday, so I know this game very much, and I remember spending lots of dollars into this thing. It's a pretty cool game. Echo Jr. on the Genesis came out in 1995. Chrono Cross on the PlayStation in 2000. The Dirge Cerberus on Final Fantasy VII on the PS2 in 2006. And we talked about 99 Nights on this show on the 360 in 2006, making its US release debut as well. Check out how cool this game is. It just breaks out of prison, just beating up everyone.
I love the jump hop there.
Yeah, I love the jump kick because it's like his toe is the only thing that really connects. Look at that, boom, the jump kick. The first boss in this game is a helicopter, and it's got unlimited guys coming out of the helicopter, and until the guy with the grenade spawns, and you beat him up and throw the grenade back at the helicopter.
Like, how cool is that? Seriously.
Yeah.
So it was like, man, this is, there's like a little bit of a gameplay here on a beat 'em up, not just like punch, kick, right? So it's pretty cool.
Personally, I would just love the thought of just like this guy escaping, and imagine you're one of the guards. You just see him jump kicking everyone.
Right. This man just took out 15 guys with his bare hands. What do I do?
Just bicycle kicking
put my gun down, clock out, Y'all can have at it.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's really weird. Like I think from what I remember, the last boss in this game was pretty much like a juiced version of your guy. But he was like who's the guy from Metal Gear, Raven, Vulcan Raven. He was basically Vulcan Raven in a
Oh, he was
tank.
like Andrew.
Yeah, and then the way to kill him was like same thing, like he was invincible, right? Because he's in the freaking tank. So his first phase was guys come out, right? And then you beat up the grenade guys, throw a grenade into the helicopter tank, right? And then once the guy falls out of the tank eventually. I don't know if it was the last guy or not, but I do remember that. And then you fight him like barehanded as he comes out of the tank. So that was a really interesting one.
That is so cool.
But yeah, SNK man back in the day. And I don't know where this like if this character or whatever is in like part of like their SNK universe. I don't know even know if they have a SNK universe outside of King of Fighters and Fatal Fury. So but yeah. P.O. Dub. What is this? He jump kicked the helicopter?
Yeah, he just jump kicked the helicopter. That's what I'm saying.
That's
This man's just jump kicking everyone.
He single-handedly made it to the rescue chopper.
Or single-footedly.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, Ace, you got yourself some Dirge Cerberus on the the Final Fantasy.
Yikes.
Now, okay, so if going back to our previous conversation about Hyrule Warriors is any indication, you know that I am enough of a gaming masochist that I will look into any weird title and go, okay, let me give this a shot and see if it's worth it.
I mean, yeah, you see a high rendered, game with Vince in it, and you shoot stuff. I'd play it too.
Right. And this was also coming off. This is still like at the height of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII back when Advent Children came out. So seeing a lot of callbacks to Advent Children and how this took place in parallel to it. I was hooked based on that portion of the story.
Like it's in the same universe.
Sat down, started actually playing the game on the PS2, and it was a lot more competent as a game than I expected.
I love how that's the benchmark. It's got competent game.
I mean, it just turned out to be a solid third-person shooter with RPG mechanics.
You know what?
And a lot down to like how you can customize your guns, how you can outfit Vincent's guns with not just different types of ammo, but also different materia for the summons, for different magic that you can cast, and also, of course, his limit breaks. At the very least, his Chaos and Galleon Beast transformations were incorporated into the gameplay itself.
I can't be mad at this game because this is one of those games where you're like, what would be cool if there was a shooter with Vincent, and then they write it on paper, they like draw it out, and you're like, that actually sounds pretty dope, and then yeah, and this is why we have this. And I feel like I can be mad at this game. Like, why did this game come out? This game is hot trash, right? But we complain about how all the games are very similar these days. And so I can't be upset that, I mean, maybe during the time I didn't know what we had, right? But this is one of those things that were like, they were trying something new, right? So that's all I'm saying about that. And I'm excited to, long story short, if this was handled by the team that did, was that the one that won Platinum? The shooter, third-person shooter?
Vanquish?
Yeah, they did Vanquish with Vincent. That'd be so sick. So, all good. All right, man. Last, we're running a little low on time here, but one more day, the 16th here. I mean, this one's super easy because no one knows what the hell this game is except like 2 people,
or the 3 people on stream.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that remake. Dark. So I got this game confused with the Capcom one. There was a Capcom game that looks like this. But Dark Watch on the PS2 and Xbox came out in 2005. I actually played this game at my stepdad's house. He had this game and Need for Speed Most Wanted. And I was like, Need for Speed Most Wanted, 100%. That game's way cooler. you know. But yeah, according to Andre, this game was fire, and Bytes, right? It's a High Moon Studios game, right? But all I remember from this game is dual pistols. I'm a vampire hunter, and I'm also like a vampire also.
Oh
So that's
wait,
all I
High Moon
remember.
Studios did this one.
Yeah, right in the bottom. Do your thing. But
Okay.
yeah, I wrote. Yeah, aside from that, Dungeon Siege 2 came out on the PC in 2005, which was your Diablo alternative during that time. Finally, El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron, we talked about that before, came out on the PS3 and 360 in the US on the same day. And also the Grandia. I think we also talked about this before when they came out in Japan, the Grandia HD collection on the Switch and
Yep.
PC in 2019 as well. So yeah, that's a pretty decent week of gaming. So that is your week, and this week in gaming history. All right, it's been gone for a long time, but now it is back. We got some quick bites here with Mr. Nick. I know, and you've added some stuff to what I've put on there, so I'm interested in learning what you got.
Not
And
too much added. Since we're short on time, we'll run through it quick. But hey, it's time for Quick Bites. I'm back. Those little morsels of gaming news you can chew on between boss fights. I got 3 big stories for you this week, so let's power up and get to it real quick. First and foremost, Digital Foundry has gone independent. The well-known gaming tech analysis team at Digital Foundry has split from IGN. Eurogamer is going fully independent again. The founder, Richard Ledbetter, said they'll be staying focused on console deep dives, retro tech, and expanding PC coverage with new podcasts and projects in the works, which
I
is
like
great.
that.
I love those guys. Bring up really cool comparison videos. That's what I really rely on it for.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to see that they're going independent. So we'll see if that is going to give them more freedom to be more critical, or do you think resources will be a challenge? I guess we'll see. So looking forward to see what they do next. Second up, I don't know if you've seen the news lately, but a study shows that Gen Z gamers, which are ages 18 to 24, are spending a quarter less, so 25% less on games compared to last year,
Oh,
citing economic pressures and high AAA prices. Many are sticking with free-to-play, indie, and co-op titles instead. Do you think this is a wake-up call for AAA publishers, or just a natural shift for the gaming culture as a whole right now? What do you guys
I
think?
I think it's both. The fact that they don't have as much money as the previous generation, it's harder to get a job these days. They're not paying you as much. Things are costing way more than before. So if they want to relax and they want a game, of course, free to play is the best way to go. Or indie, those Steam games for like $5, 100%, right? Also, I think like the shifting gaming culture as well. They're like focusing more on like all I hear from Gen Z is they want to buy their own house, they want to like start a family, but it's expensive, right? So I think their focus is now leaning towards like more responsibility outside of like gaming. And so if they do want a game, they want to save money by going free to play.
As a millennial, I will say that I also wish to own a house and
Same.
do adult things. Like, I think that's the gaming industry as a whole has come to terms a little bit more lately with the like prices going up. We had an entire conversation about this before and who's at the rings of it. I think there's still plenty of money being spent in the gaming industry. This is something that has been talked about as well. Still plenty of money being spent. Certain places, certain sections of the industry are seeing less and less investment, like Gen Z gamers, spending less. They're putting time into or money into 1 or 2 games instead of a wide variety of games. There's a reason the games like even like Roblox, still for what it is, still brings in so much money, and shareholders are asking their dev teams like, hey, where's your Roblox game, or where's your game like Roblox?
Yeah.
How can we capture this many people or this much money? It's one of the reasons we shook our head. We were kind of chat about it in the Discord. We were laughing about it, but WB Games, their next game is another live service game. Like, it's the decision to go in on something like that. I understand it, but when you see certain like development studios making the same mistakes, or presumably the same mistakes, you kind of scratch your head. But then you realize they're still trying to capture a smaller and smaller portion because there's just so much out there and so much less time and now less money. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Ace, did you have something for that? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, it's just in regards to the WB situation, they're they're chasing the same dragon, hoping not to catch the same amount of heat.
I
Well,
honestly believe. Sorry, go ahead.
but as far as just Gen Z spending on gaming and you know gaming related entertainment as a whole, yeah, it's not just you know a shock to the system for developers. I feel that would well, let me rephrase that. It's not just a shock to the system to publishers in regards to how they how it seems like as they're trying to price games higher and higher, that's more and more people being priced out of the market due to economic conditions on the ground. It's a feedback loop.
Yeah, and
Feedback loop with
we've
no
talked.
foreseeable off ramp.
Yeah, and this also goes into something we've talked about on previous podcasts as well. And there's plenty of conversations going on in multiple other media showcases, basically, just about how much indie development is kind of becoming a thing again because of those lower price points, because of the success of games like Clear Obscure. Um, a lot of games that I've picked up lately myself, honestly, have been the stuff like we talked about earlier with Night Dive Studios, picking up those HD like remakes, remasters for that low price point to kind of like relive nostalgia, play a fun game for a little bit, in and out. Not a lot of like time spent or money spent. So having to pick and choose that, and I'm it's a gross overgeneralization to say that everyone is like that or a lot of people are like that, but it seems to be a thing that's happening more and more lately. That's why we see projects like it. So as much as we can be upset or complain about, oh, it's another one of these, it kind of sells, it's the bottom line. And honestly, having a kid now that just turned 2 months old, I love the fact that the game that I'm playing for my now playing lets me jump in and jump out, get a little bit of the nostalgia, and there's not like this big time sink. There's a reason I can't play WoW anymore like I used to. I don't
Mhm.
have the time. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want to pay that sub on top of everything else I'm paying right now. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, man, up here in Beham and other places, but now our electricity bills are higher thanks to AI and everything. Like the power drain on it, it's causing costs to go higher. Like, hooray!
Yes.
Speaking of that prompt, and Jago's brought it up too. Number 3 on the night for our quick bite news, and the last one for tonight. Um, Take Two CEO Strauss Zelnick. Let's talk about him. He says that AI will help automate tedious dev tasks, freeing up creatives to focus on the fun stuff, possibly even leading to better paying jobs in the industry. Said that during an interview. So you got to ask, is AI going to be this game changer for devs, or is this just optimism hiding in potential layoffs? I mean, you could probably answer that last part from what we've seen the last couple weeks or last couple months.
Yeah.
What you
Every
got?
every time a CEO says they're gonna focus on fun stuff, um, I don't believe anything what they say. They focus on like it's always like a true lie, right?
Like
With these guys.
every time a CEO says they're going to be able to focus on fun stuff, the question then comes up: fun for who?
For their wallets, you know. But on all it's all seriousness. Like, AI is here no matter what we do, right? It's and yeah, I'm sure like if it's in good spirit, if there's tedious tasks that devs don't want to do, all great. But like what are they going to be doing instead? Like and I'm sure I'm not a dev and they can answer this a lot better than I can. But at the same time, that's at a cost because, like, if you think about it, like the way these corporations think is like, well, I pay you this much, but you're not really doing that anymore. So maybe we need to only pay you this much. So it's like it's a pro and a con at the same time. And this is why when they say, oh, well, I want them to focus on the fun stuff, that's like a double edged sword to me.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about AI and layoffs with what happened to Microsoft recently.
Yeah.
Alana Pierce actually put out a video 3 weeks ago, I want to say, talking about the 9,000 workers that got laid off just
Big.
because the CEO at the top and the company wants to focus on investing in AI. Like that was very directly said and very directly like
Yeah.
pointed to by their decisions as a company. And a lot of the people in that 9,000 were people that I had met, and I don't mean by a lot in like 9,000, but a lot of people from the teams that I worked with were affected by it. I had to see my LinkedIn just blow up with a bunch of people looking for work on the teams that I got to work with, which is heartbreaking because there were some really dedicated people there that loved the job. And you can see a lot of these like LinkedIn posts are all saying how much they loved their team, how much they loved working on this. It was a dream job for them. It was a dream job for me while I was there, and that I was in the industry. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but it was still in there, and I got to work with some great people. So seeing that direct hit definitely affected me because it sucks to see. Because we've been talking about, and by we I mean like the royal we, all of us have been kind of talking about like outsourcing jobs, leaving, AI coming in, losing work. Just to bring up some stuff that's kind of been talked about just with this topic, there was a new report released that 1 in 5 Steam games released in 2025 use generative AI. So I don't know if you know, but some of the stuff in Steam changed where they had to state if generative AI was used. That was starting in January, if I remember right. They had to disclose if AI was used.
Yeah.
According to a report from Totally Human Media, approximately 7,818 games on Steam have disclosed generative AI use, representing 7% of the available library.
Wow.
So that is already there, and it's already pretty pervasive on Steam. It makes sense for smaller teams, in my opinion. Large teams can certainly use it too as a tool, but like you said, James, they're going to be taking who knows how many tasks away from those creators because it's going to be so much cheaper for them to use.
Yep.
And this is right on the back of the one little nugget of rumor mill. Again, grain of salt whenever this kind of stuff comes up. But there's already a rumor leaking from Nash Weedle online, who is an industry leaker, that Beyond Good and Evil 2 could be using generative AI for their development. That game has been in dev hell for the longest time. It's still in active development, but Comic Book reported on it, and that specialists for AI, generative AI, are creating NPCs for this project now. I don't know if you two remember, but when they announced Beyond Good and Evil 2, remember it was Gordon Joseph Levitt came on stage and was talking about hey, we're going to get the community involved. Community made stuff's going to show up in the game. It sounded like a really cool grassroots kind of thing. But now, so far into the future, now into all this development hell, now they're all right, we're just bringing a bunch of generative AI for it.
Yep, from the community.
from grassroots to AstroTurf.
Yeah, from scanning the community.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, and this is why I don't believe these companies, CEOs, and companies say until it happens, because they're there to look good, right, and feed us the information we want to hear. So
it sucks, man. I having used it, and I know that we use it from time to time too, just for ideas, projects, ideation, some content creation stuff. It's fine to use it as part of your process, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel but when you see a company lay off thousands of people and then at the same time say that they're thriving as a business because they're going all in on AI, there's just some weird cognitive dissonance for me that it's just now I see it as a bad thing, and it's what am I supposed to think or believe? I don't know. That's a conversation for another time, but just something I brought up.
Yeah, it's definitely on Forbes magazine.
Well, hey,
all right.
Those are your quick bites, your 3 stories, guys. One level up on your gaming knowledge. Now, which one of the headlines would you like to save in your inventory for later discussion? Let us know on the Discord.
Yeah, keep chatting with us. But yeah.
Well, I got the picture.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to use that for the longest time. All right, guys, a little bit more of on the brighter side of things and changing things up. The roundtable today will be headed by yours truly, Blazing Ace Nelson. So he's got a specific topic for us, which I will put up right here. I don't know why that didn't pop up, but here it comes. Should video game demos make a comeback? No, that's the wrong one. That's not even all at all. Hold on. That's the wrong caption.
I don't know. That sounds like a conversation we could save for later.
That was my time. This one's even better. Patched it right there.
I got you for this one. But for this week's roundtable is actually something that I tend to promote quite a bit just in my streams, regularly via, just the different intermissions that we take over the course of the stream. That right there being the mental health perks of, going offline. And I'm not just talking, stepping outside, but look, listen, class. the fact of the matter is, we're back here at the round table. We're going to discuss we're going to discuss some of the benefits of actually disconnecting for a little bit. Let's get our controllers together. Let's get ready. Let's get ready to take some notes. Let's get ready to put some hot takes on the table and talk about one of the bigger questions in gaming. So now comes the question, though. In a world where every game wants your constant attention, your daily logins, your endless grind for loot drops, I am guilty of this with Warframe and the First Ascendant. Sometimes you gotta ask, and it's worth asking, what happens when we just unplug? So, with that question in mind, GQ, Lee, everybody we got here in the chat, I want to actually sit down and really discuss and really get multiple viewpoints, as many viewpoints as we can in regards to just, unplugging to some degree. First thing I want to talk about real quick is, when I mentioned unplugging, one of the things we can do is just not dealing with games that have an always online component, escaping the pressures of, being always on. Because we've got online games that, tend to bring, constant social pressure. I mean, everything from competitive ranked ladders like, fighting up the ranks in something like Tekken 8 or Street Fighter 6, to FOMO, fear of missing out for seasonal events like, the Flame Fate Festival in Monster Hunter, or the opening of season 3 and the brand new content drop for the First Ascendant. There's when dealing with games that are offline, for example, more often than not, one of the big things that people tend to notice is the timer's removed, right? You don't have to worry about trying to do things on their schedule. You don't have to try and do things on Capcom's schedule or Magnum Studios' schedule or Bandai Namco's schedule. This is on your own time. So you get to play your way without the weight of other people's schedules and judgments. But just with that, first topic thread, as far as dealing with the pressure of being always on or escaping that pressure. I've already mentioned a little bit about this, not just here but also in my own streams. But what do you guys have to say on that?
I mean, for me, the pressure of always on is basically, like you said, the timed events on like the season passes and stuff like that. Marvel Rambles has it, Diablo 4 has it, right? If you don't get it done by X amount of time, you lose it forever. Thank goodness Marvel Rambles, like if you buy a battle pass, you can complete it with any time you want, which I think is a great idea because you bought it. So now you can play it whenever you can finish it whenever you like, right? You don't have to hurry to finish it before X amount of season and days. But yeah, that does play a big part, especially like as a completionist, you want to collect everything. So the whole like, gotta always jump online, gotta play, gotta catch up. Um, some we play these games to be offline. So sometimes we play these games to chillax, and I don't want to feel pressure to jump on. I just want to play the game at my own pace. Mm.
Right, Nick. What about you?
There's
So I
a
quit
reason.
Destiny.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I stopped playing WoW for a while. There was just the time commitment to have to be on to do these things, because if I don't, I'm going to miss out on something. Like losing out on a piece of loot because I wasn't on the raid that week, or potentially would drop, kind of thing. That's where it kind of started for me. For me, the issue nowadays, and I know maybe probably mentioned this once or twice before, but just how every game is now made with the sense of engagement being its number one like design decision. It feels like everything having a time gate on it, everything having to be designed to capture your attention and get you in and retain you. We mentioned before about how game devs are trying to chase their own dragons of trying to find these games to get people in all the time. That's how they're kind of doing it. Their games are built for engagement. A lot of games are like that nowadays. And I'm burnt out on that. I don't want every game to be like that, and that's probably part of the reason why I've drifted over to these HD remakes of stuff that doesn't have any of that. There's a time and a place for those games, for sure, but I don't have the same time ability in my schedule nowadays with a new child, and maybe Gen Z's feeling the same way, which is like needing to focus on so many things because the window is closing on so many things. It feels like I don't have time to be drawn into all these time gated kind of things. Like you said, and like I said, all these games are starting to be designed like this, and it's starting to get a little overwhelming and frustrating to, be in an industry when the next game is just another thing with another battle pass and another games as a service.
Right. It's like, I mean, honestly, even though I still do play games like Vindictus and the First Ascendant and Warframe, and I technically see them as more cozy games where I just kind of turn off my brain and just jump in and play for a little bit. I've been spending more of the lion's share of my time with stuff that either no longer has online service or doesn't have it to begin with. That's why I've been much like you, going back to older games and going back to HD remakes and just more of the dedicated single player stuff, because it allows me to manage my own time. It allows me to spend my time how I choose to. I mean, even if it's hell, a couple weeks back when I sat down and finished up what I needed to for Star Ocean, the Divine Force. I went back to it because it was a single player game that I enjoyed and I wanted to finish. And I could either play it on stream or off, but I still had 100% control in regards to scheduling my own time around that game.
Right. And that's not to, like, I don't mean to come across to people in chat as like altruistic or anything, or like I'm holier than thou, but like I still struggle. Like there's some cosmetics that show up, like I really want that cosmetic. That looks damn cool. I'm gonna play this battle pass, or until I can get that. Like I certainly still follow it. That means the gaming industry juggernauts are still like, we got him. Still got him. He keeps saying he doesn't want it, but that's the problem, right? We can complain about this. However, it sells and it's still succeeding. So, there's eventually going to be a give and take. Maybe we're starting to see a little more of that pressure now, like we were discussing. But yeah, always on. It's starting to get always annoying right now.
Indeed. Now, moving down to the second little conversation thread we got here. Another thing that I guess really helps as far as just getting away from the pressures of always on and going back to the HD remakes and the single player titles is there tends to be more immersion in those games, since you're not so focused on social engagement between players, across internet connections or across the ocean or what have you. Since you're just able to focus on that, you can immerse yourself more in that world. There's not so much in the way of notifications or chat boxes or anything constantly popping up that's outside of the context of the system of the game itself. Like, a couple of really good examples I could think of, and are actually ones that we've got mentioned here on the syllabus. Stuff like just the serene farming of Stardew Valley, or when you drop into a game of Breath of the Wild and you've just got this vast open field and you're just out there, and it's you and the sand. Or even the slow burn narrative of games like Disco Elysium or Final Fantasy 12, right? When you're not dealing with the outside, that's the word I was looking for, where you're not dealing with the external stimuli of chat notifications or leaderboard notifications coming in. You can just focus on the game itself. I mean, that is an experience, and that is a mindset, that is a context for gaming that you really would be hard pressed to replicate if the majority of your time is spent, you know, always on.
I think for me, the kind of person that I am, I tend to get immersed more in social games. So something like World of Warcraft, I got super immersed in that for a long time because of the social connections I made. So it's a little of like half of one, half dozen of another for me when it comes to this part. So I absolutely get what you're saying. I get super immersed in stuff like Horizon. I got super immersed into that, absolutely. Like playing
Mhm.
Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time. But there's something to be said for me about the social aspect. I tend to be more extroverted. I tend to feel better when I have other people to talk to. So I get pulled into worlds that have more of a social connection. That being said, if it's something like a gas surface, whatever word I'm looking for, service, there we go. If it's more of like that kind of always on, like Diablo 4, not immersed at all. Like I can't get immersed in that at all. Just the way it was designed. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm not saying that, there's not, I played it definitely, and I still do from time to time, but it's just I don't get immersed like I do with like something like WoW, and that's a lot of that is because of the time I put in as well, and I understand that. But that's me. What do you got, James?
No, I was thinking about that, about like the offline online immersion. To me, isn't necessarily limited to offline gaming. It's just I think it's limited by the game.
Yeah.
The reason why I say this is because like when immersion could be like you're locked in, right? Maybe those are two different things, but
Mhm.
when I first got my hands on Call of Duty 4, right, I was locked in. Like domination was my jam. I was like, all right, guys, let's cover A. I was like locked in. I was immersed, right?
Wow.
But at the same time, playing the single player, I was like locked in too. I was like the story and the narrative, the campaign. I was like, I'm involved in this story. I want to know what happens to Captain Price and the crew. I'm one of them, right?
Right.
So it just depends on the game.
And as you guys were talking, as you were talking about that, and as Nick, as you were talking about, your time with WoW, it also made me think of, how, there are some games where, where the interaction, the interactivity between, between live players is, part of the immersion. WoW is a great example. Helldivers 2 is another good one. So
It's
I guess,
tricky, and I think that leads into your point what you were trying to make before about like trying to escape the pressure. The social
Hmm.
connections is what brings us coming like back to it. We get into a lot of games because our friends suggest it, right? So I mean, it's that's probably part of the reason we feel so stressed about this stuff, and I'm just assuming, but that's probably like a good reason why we're having this conversation anyway, is because that pulls us into it and makes us forget, why we play games sometimes, and the fact that it's like almost parasocial when it's
yeah,
online, with people from anywhere instead of your immediate friend group. That's kind of the thing we miss, right? It's like LAN parties and stuff, the immediacy of your friends in your living room handing over a SNES controller. We still get that with these online games, but it's now combating for times when we've got so much more going on in our lives and the game systems themselves. Like James said, the way the game's designed. I'll give a more recent example, something that I was surprised because I didn't play it for the longest time because I assumed it just wasn't for me, wasn't the style of game. I actually ended up getting pretty immersed by Wuthering Waves. I just like gave it a try the other day because I was looking like a free to play just to pop on, wanted to
Mhm.
burn some time. I was surprised how quickly off the bat it kind of pulls you into the game. Now with like a huge exposition dump, you're into the action, the world starts building around you before you get to the main area. Like I was surprised. That's another one where I felt like, oh, that got its hooks in me really quickly, despite it being this games of the service thing. It's like James, what was the like Mecha Break? You play that first little bit, and after you get past that first little bit where you're like immersed, it's like the first splash screen is like, oh, here's this new mission you have to purchase to play this mission. Though it's like that completely ruined like the initial experience for so
that
many people.
any game that's like, hey, you have to save the world, but it's going to cost you money, that breaks immersion.
right. It's like you made it through zone. It's like you made it through 1-1. You made it through 1-2. You made it through 1-3. Oh, here we go. Bowser's Castle in the first world. $5 to bust down the gate. You're like,
Oh no! Don't give Nintendo ideas, my guy.
You're like, bro, this game is real. I gotta pay for everything.
You have to have your Nintendo subscription service in order to access this title.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
But a lot of what we mentioned, though, as far as like the pressure of the pressure of being constantly online, and a lot of the pressure of that social connection, it kind of brings up, or at least I feel like it dovetails pretty well into this third thread for the conversation. That being, you know, just thinking about mindful play and stress reduction, aka, you know, not just cozy gaming in the sense of like, you know, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, chill vibes, damn near comatose because it's so relaxing, cozy gaming. But just, being able to, again, play at your own pace, be mindful about what and how much you play, and playing to unwind, playing to de-stress. Like, because more often than not, online play does tend to promote slower pacing, reflection, more creative problem solving without the external noise. And there have been some studies. I'll have to try and I'll have to do some work on my end to try and dig these up again. But there have been studies that show that single player gaming can actually reduce stress levels, boost a person's cognitive flexibility, and also help build and increase feelings of control over one's surroundings and one's life in general. And it's a heady feeling to sit down and play something and realize that you're actually doing this to calm down, because it's like, you it's like my first day, when I was able to actually come back home after the unpleasantness of 2023. And I finished, I had gotten my work gear set up back in the apartment. I sat down, I did my shift, and then as I was putting everything together so I can just start gaming and maybe even trying to stream back then, it just sort of hit me. It's like, I did, I worked hard today, even after everything I went through. And then now I get the chance to enjoy the fruits of that work. And I get to do so on my own time, just having the option to unwind when I choose to. And just sitting down and, heck, I think that first game that I played after I got everything set up again was you know, I, I popped onto Monster Hunter World. And I popped onto Monster Hunter World, but I didn't even connect to any of the servers. I just kept it offline and just played. And that was a heady feeling. But I mean, just on on that whole topic of just, you know, mindful play and being able to really have that control over what and how much you play, and being able to do so knowing that, this is this is something that's helping you relax and wind down after all the hard work you put in those hours before. I mean, am I the only one looking at it from this particular angle, or I don't know? What about you guys?
Nick?
No, I think you're right. To be honest, like I get a lot of stress reduction from games, even when I'm screaming at the screen. Like anyone who's played Halo with me knows, extreme stress inducing by the sound of my voice, but I'm still having a great time because I have a lot of great memories with LAN parties and playing Halo. So yeah, like Andre said, you hit the nail on the head. For me, it's allowing me to feel like I still have control in things. Absolutely, it helps me stress reduce. It helps me kind of ground myself for the moment. So I use it as that. That is my de-stress. I know that's my coping mechanism with the world that's going on around me. I know that when I do get a short break from work and my daughter, when like my wife's watching her, which I'm super appreciative for, my first reaction is I'm going to go hop on my computer even for 20 minutes and play a game.
And yeah, just that. Yeah, I mean, it's it's a coping mechanism. There's folks out there that might use that as more of a pejorative, but whatever helps you center yourself, whatever helps you ground yourself in order to deal with whatever other situations that you have going on in your life. You're doing something that is frankly healthy. You're doing something that's healthy because it's it's refocusing your mind. And again, it's that relaxation. It's having that it's having that control, having that agency over you know finding your own peace or some semblance of it.
Yeah, I mean, an offline game I play all the time is, well, technically it's online, but offline game I play all the time is SimCity, like the latest one from EA. It's the only one technically that's like alive still. Um, and that's just like it's got jazz music in it. I get to design the city my own way, my own pace, right? And sometimes I just play and hang out and talk to stream, right? Uh, Nobody knows what the hell I'm doing, but I'm enjoying it. Maybe that's a part of me where I'm like I just like creating things. I like designing things. Maybe
Mhm.
I like the combination of jazz music and lo-fi with designing things is how how I relax, right?
We
So
should finish our civilization game now that you brought that up.
I said
This
relax, not
building.
stressed out.
I'm not stressed out. We're doing fine. We're
Yeah,
doing
we're good.
fine,
We're
except
good.
some
We're
of our
good.
neighbors are maybe a little stressful.
Yeah, was that the one where like you're sandwiched between like Constantine or something?
It was the one where I had the map. You did like one continent, and it was just
Or
like the
Pangea,
center.
I think. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You were like next to Teddy Roosevelt, and I think because you were playing Rome, and I think China was just under you,
yeah.
and I was, I think, the Greeks, and I was like, I could only build like horizontally. I could only go like either direction because I had like him, and Saladin was like super angry, like he was
Yeah, yeah,
super
yeah,
aggro. He
Oh,
was like taking out everyone. He started taking out like my suzerains, and I'm just like, I guess this is just happening now.
yeah. And I can't get to you until I make an alliance with another person because they're in the
Yeah,
way. That's
yeah,
probably
they're
what I
in the way.
remember.
You have
Yeah,
China between us. Like we
yeah.
just finally like saw the borders of each other's civilizations.
Just like in real life.
right. And honestly, just from that, kind of, looking at what we have as far as the rest of the syllabus here, it definitely, I feel like it dovetails into and can pretty easily combine these last couple points that we got here, and that's basically, you know, giving one a chance to reclaim, basically reclaim gaming as one's own personal time, as you time, and also just using offline play as something of a digital detox. Because one thing that has been just inundating us, not just through games, but any sort of online interactions that we get involved with, is again, like a lot of notifications as far as ads and social media chatter, and a lot of the what's the word? A lot of the par for the course, toxicity that one would find on social media. I mean, it ain't just Xbox Live chat anymore, right? It's everywhere. Social media is just ubiquitous in our lives now. It's ever present. And one thing that actually really helps as far as being able to game offline is using that to give yourself a chance to have something of you know, a brief, or starting something of an ongoing digital detox. Because I mean, let's face it. Before I even got into streaming or doing anything on YouTube, I was actually you know I was actually involved in a lot of political discussion and political commentary, and it hit a point where I was angry, I was stressed all the time. I mean, y'all thought y'all think I'm a surly bastard now. You should have seen me back in 2012. It was awful. But when I started actually focusing on not just gaming content, but gaming in general, and I'd spend more time on the stick as opposed to on Facebook or on Twitter or on, you know, Newsweek or Daily Coast. I'd spend more time in front of the screen just, you know, chilling with them boys in Metro City, running a couple rounds on Street Fighter or, setting up my playlist in Tekken Tunes on Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And the more I did that, the more I actually just started feeling better and I was less stressed because I wasn't neck deep in all of that. I had my time to step away and decompress. And I think more than anything, if I was to sum up some of the major perks of just going offline, even if it's for a few hours a day, that right there is it. It's removing, excising as much stress as possible.
De-stress, my man. De-stress.
And remember, like, we are at that age where games originally were offline, right? And no matter what reason you have for going into gaming, that was your escape. That was your interest to game. And if you're not gaming, you're doing something else, whether it's working, school, maybe you have other venues of entertainment, TV, drawing, whatever, right? But this whole idea of online play um is still relatively new to the world, but it's definitely new, or definitely not new, to the people that are just like younger, 18 and 24, like they were born into it, right? Offline gaming is maybe the mystery to them. So like I said, like I have my games that I play online, like Marvel Rivals, just to like turn my brain off and just play, right? But I also have
Mhm.
my games offline to turn my brain off and play, like SimCity. Both do two different things, but at the same time, I'm kind of an anomaly. I don't turn on voice chat. I ignore any kind of chat, right? I'm just there locked in, playing my character, playing my role. I'm not listening to the I mean, I long story short, if you're a Gen Z and you heard a Call of Duty lobby right now from the 2010s, you yeah, it's a different world in there.
That's a, it's a it's a cold glass of water straight to the face.
Yeah, like I said, it definitely removes you out of your safe space.
Yep.
COD lobby from 2009.
So I
Yeah.
mean, maybe going offline isn't about. I guess you could say maybe going offline isn't about rejecting the modern gaming scene so much as it's about remembering why we picked up the stick in the first place. No pressure, no pings, just you, your game, and a world where you can explore at your own pace. And sometimes logging out is the best way to truly level up.
Bro, cheaper too.
On
Don't go
that
pay for
note,
internet.
on that note, that ends the roundtable for this week.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's right. Third strike announcer. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Infinite.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. What's everybody playing now? I think I just revealed what I was playing earlier the stream.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've been going back to Armored Core 6. Still been getting in, the occasional runs on LC and Fight Forever and Wendigo Blue.
Yeah.
I've been jumping on in the First Ascendant because of the most recent content drop from a couple days back, and also Monster Hunter Wilds just got an update earlier today, which I'm planning on digging into over the next couple
Cool.
days.
Isn't it interesting that all the games on this list, none of it is really new? It's like, there's been this like the newest game I'm playing right now is Marvel Rivals, and it's not really that new anymore. And the other 3 games that I'm playing, Street Fighter 6, just getting back into it, learning the games again. And just beat Mass Effect 2, and I'm on my way to Mass Effect 3 already. I'm already 2 hours in, so
Yeah, I think part of it is what we were chatting about earlier. Just money and time, man. There's not
yeah.
there's not too many games that I feel like I needed to buy this year compared to other years. Not to say there isn't bangers. Like 2025 has some banger games,
Mhm.
absolutely. But with GTA 6 being moved to 2026, that's like one of the big ones I was planning on buying at this tail end of the year. Um, so what I'm playing right now is just like fill in the gap stuff, a little bit cheaper stuff when I have time for stuff. I'm playing the Heretic Hexen HD that
Yes.
Night Dive did. So that was the one I was talking about earlier. I've been enjoying that. Really fun to go back and play that, especially
Oh, we're
checking
playing that
out.
together soon.
Yeah, I didn't dive too deep just because I just wet the whistle a little bit after we were talking about it. But playing Hexen was just such a blast. It was just so cool to see.
Yeah.
And I bought Phantom Liberty recently, so I'm actually playing through that now since I was able to upgrade my GPU and actually play with a little bit of path tracing and make it a little bit pretty. So I've been messing around with that again just to kind of see how that's going. Otherwise, dad stuff, dude. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Dad stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm playing a 15-year-old game. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and the games that I've
um,
played, like I mentioned, Wuthering Waves earlier, it's the free-to-play stuff that I can kind of just hop in and hop out. No heavy investment or time or money for me right now. So, like, other than that, I think the only thing I bought this year was 2 Point Museum, like the DLC for that, and that's mostly what I'm rocking with right now since GTA got pushed. I am buying Borderlands 3, or sorry, 4.
yeah.
I'm buying that to play with friends. Like the whole group of us are getting into that, so I'm excited for that. That's like the next game I'm looking forward to. But that's a month away. So in the meantime, I'm just sticking with what I got.
So the other thing I want to add to that offline thing too is from a financial standpoint, offline games tend to be designed with no timeline involved, meaning that like there is no real FOMO in an offline game. So you don't have to get it day one. You don't have to get a battle pass for it, right? You can get it when it's on discount. Finish your backlog. Then when you do have money, get it while it's on sale. One of the reasons why I say get physical, get an offline game. It's just there's so much benefits with offline gaming. So, all
I
right,
would say as well, like James, the fact that the latest Civ game isn't doing so hot, I haven't bought or jumped into that. It's been kind of an interesting year for releases, and I'm look at the top selling games on PlayStation this year because there's been like a lack of first party PlayStation titles coming out, and with them like canceling a bunch of live service stuff. The top selling games on there right now are the Xbox titles that have made the leap over. Like it's
Gears of War, yeah,
yeah, 2025 is just kind of a weird
yeah,
year. And to be honest, like pull back the curtain a little bit further, take a step back. This gaming generation is weird. If you think
it
about it in
it
terms of
is,
releases and stuff, like it's a
yeah,
lot of potential stuff that just never made it out. A lot of long-term games as a service stuff, a lot of cancellations, a lot of layoffs, a lot of projects being shelved or permanently like axed. It's weird. It's a weird generation of
yeah.
for gaming.
We're definitely like in a transition phase of like the AI taking over, right? And then there's like this weird push with indies. It's like we're almost like the industry's trying to move forward, but the gamers are like, no, 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 we're gonna go back. Like, what are you doing? So it's weird. Yeah, and you're right. It is weird. It's hard to explain. Explaining it, but I feel what you're feeling right now. Start 100%. All right. With that said, let's go finish up today's show with the final boss, as always. Did I ever get a thing for this? Probably not. Let's just do this. Nope, that's the wrong one.
Yeah.
No, no, go back.
Um, this one was for Duder. All right.
Excellent.
All right, that's a good final boss one. Excellent. All right, so what do we have for today, guys? So this episode of the final boss, what caption do I have for y'all? Did I delete the caption? Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's already there. What am I doing? Saving the game in real life. A lot of real stories tonight. I want to share this with you guys. Let me move this over here. Now, what do I mean by this? Chat, what do I mean? How do we save the game in real life? For those that are new to the channel and just don't know what this Porsche segment is, this is the portion where, me, the father brain of I love that sounds so weird to say father brain instead of mother brain. Father brain of the Gaming Academy gives you a little bit of tips and tricks with your dailies, but in IRL, as the kids say. So if it's your first time here, welcome to the class, to the final boss segment, where your headmaster myself steps away from hitboxes and combo strings to talk about the bigger game we're all playing, life. Just like in our favorite games, every week we tackle a challenge. We learn a skill or find a little extra motivation to help us level up. Now, today's topic, saving the game in real life. Now, what does that mean? Well, in video games, we've all been there, the tense moment before a boss fight, the risky jump across the bottomless pit, or that dialogue choice you're not 100% sure about. Oh man, they like knew I was playing Mass Effect or something. And then you hit save. It's your safety net, a checkpoint. If you fail, you reload, you try again, and maybe try a different approach until you win or get the result that you want. Now, but here's the thing, in real life, there is no quick save. Well, I know that sounds kind of crazy. There's no soft reset. You can't go back to save a file from before you made that awkward first impression, before you took that risk, or before life threw you into a fight you didn't choose. We all make bad choices. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And that's why every decision you make matters. But here's the twist. Just because you can't reload doesn't mean you've lost. Now, in games, failure is just data. In life, failure is the XP you didn't know you needed. You don't save scum your way through the greatness. Now, you learn the boss patterns, you adapt, you take the L's as lessons. Do it all the time in Street Fighter. Sometimes you even discover new strategies in the middle of the fight. And the best part, unlike a game, your save file is being written every day. And every day, a brand new checkpoint. So stop wishing you could reload a perfect past. Start playing today like it's the run that matters. Make the move, take the chance, and trust yourself to win without a safety net. That's how you truly beat the game. Unless it's 2002 and you already lost if you read it. Wow, did I just age myself when I said that?
Damn.
Oh man. All right. Anyway, remember, students, life's got no quick save, but that's just makes every victory even sweeter. Now go out there, play like the controller's in your hands, and play like there's no save. All right. So that's your closing final boss statement for tonight. Hopefully you guys had a great time. I had a great time as always. Tonight kind of hit a little bit different. It is a little bit hot here, but at the same time, the topics we covered, I hope it helps anybody out there watching. And if you guys on chat, if you guys want to share today's episode to anybody that's looking for, more greatness in their life, not to be alone, understand what it's like to play offline, and just any gamer that you appreciate, that know that there's 3 jokers here at the Gaming Academy that can help them out, and maybe they can come hang out with us on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. That would be awesome. All right. Jagos, Andre, did I see Blue on here earlier? Somebody was here earlier. Yeah. Well, any takeaways, guys, before we launch for today?
Oh, I think you said it. You said it best.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
Nothing.
Get out there and play like the controller's in your hands, because it is. Just keep in mind, learning, evolution, you can't do either of those without holding it out.
Oh, definitely health smells and SF6 with Sagat coming out. So with that said, guys, y'all have a great Tuesday night, August 12th. I got to look at the clock. I'm like, August 12th, just making sure what time it is, what date it is. And we'll see you next week for more Gaming Academy. As always, this is your gang here, GQAzndood, Blazing Ace Nelson, the tragically leaped. Ace, take it away.
Class dismissed. We'll see you next week.
Mission complete.